Welcome back, everybody. Today we've got 10 NFL guys that could get cut this offseason. Yes, it's a little bit surprising, but every team needs to clear cap space going into 2026. So drop a comment which one you think is the most shocking and who your team should sign if this player is cut. And without further ado, let's get right into it with number 10. It's going to be Cole Kmet. With the emergence of Colston Loveland at the back half of the year, I think it makes perfect sense to move on. Ben Johnson clearly drafted Loveland to be his tight end of the future, similar to how Sam Laporta was, and I think it's time to move on from Cole Kmet. Yes, he did have that heroic fourth down touchdown by Caleb where he scrambled 40 yards back. However, Cole Kmet, I think his time is done in Chicago, and he could be a serviceable tight end for another team. It would save them over $8 million in cap space, and with the Chicago Bears needing so much help on defense, I think it would make a lot of sense, both parties involved, to move on, find a new home, and save some money for the Bears to hopefully beef up this secondary and make another playoff run. At number 9, we've got Aaron Jones. Staying in the same division here, the Vikings have a lot of changes to make, especially on this offensive side of the ball. With J.J. McCarthy, you're saving a lot of money at quarterback. However, you're going to need as much talent as you can get on the offensive side of the ball. And there's a lot of good serviceable running backs that you can get for cheaper. Aaron Jones commanding over $7 million. He's getting older and struggled to stay on the field in 2025. Yes, he still looked explosive, but now would be the perfect time to get out. I think this is the bridge year where he might kind of lose a step going into 2026. I hate to project it, but I think this would be a smart move to just save some money, maybe beef up some depth on the offensive line to protect J.J. McCarthy and see what you've got. Going after Aaron Jones, it is going to be Jalen Ramsey, yes, of the Pittsburgh Steelers. If they think that they can contend in the AFC North again, it wouldn't shock me. However, they're going to need much more resources on the offensive side of the ball, seeing that Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson aren't going to be hurt all year like they were in 2025, and you're going to have to play in these shootout games, and you're going to need money to do so. So whether they draft a wide receiver to go alongside DK Metcalf or maybe signing a tight end, you're going to need money to do so. And one easy solution would be to either trade or cut Jalen Ramsey. The cap savings are $19 million. You would be silly to not do this. I think teams that would be interested would be the Rams, maybe the Cowboys or the Bears, all these teams that need help in the secondary. We saw him actually get moved to safety towards the back half of the year, so any team can kind of use him as a Swiss Army knife, but he's also a great mentor to all your young corners and safeties. He's a pro's pro, and when you need him in the big games and the big time moments, he has that playoff experience. So those teams that are struggling to get playoff wins or just haven't been there before, I think Ramsey could be very, very enticing. Going after Ramsey, it's going to be Lattimore. Yes, another cornerback. These guys, it's just the cap savings are so high. Another $18 million cap hit that they could avoid if they cut him before the season started. Washington, yes, their defense is terrible. Is Lattimore on defense? Was he playing decent towards the end? Yes. However, you're going to need to make some true adjustments and kind of go young. This team is built around Jaden Daniels, Dan Quinn, and you need those young talents on defense. They have a top 10 pick, so that's probably what they're going to do. They need pass rushers, but I wouldn't also hate rebuilding the whole back end, kind of build around Mike Sanderstill. But Marshawn Lattimore never really fit this team, some uncharacteristic penalties, and it might just be time to pull the plug. He's getting older. I know you traded a third-round pick for him just last year, but it might just make some more sense to actually just free him and get your team some young experience, so that way maybe 2-3 years down the line when you're contending for a Super Bowl again, you have a young defense that has enough experience rather than just kind of wasting some time playing Marshawn Lattimore. Moving off of him at number 6, it's going to be another Minnesota Viking. It's going to be TJ Hawkinson, and man, he did not look impressive in 2025. Slow out of getting breaks, and with J.J. McCarthy, they just never had a rapport because, they're throwing the ball for, 150 yards per game. You already have Jefferson and Addison. I think you could take a discount here at tight end, maybe draft a rookie. Hope you strike gold like Harold Fannin, but even if you don't, just kind of move forward with a cheaper option in free agency because you could save yourself another $8 million. Pair that with Aaron Jones savings and you got $15 million. You're kind of not in that win now mode that you were with Sam Darnold. So these extra veterans, it's kind of time to move on. You don't need as much leadership here, so I would definitely try and go youthful and build around J.J. McCarthy, get them all on the same time frame as far as his development, and try and pair him up to get the best kind of run-blocking tight end, and maybe find a trade partner if that's easier to acquire some draft capital on Hawkinson. But if not, just make those subtle differences to get your roster just a little bit better going into 2026. Into the top five, we've got Calvin Ridley, savings of over $14 million for the Titans. Do they need weapons everywhere? Yes, but Calvin Ridley did not get it done in 2025. I know he got injured. However, he is getting older, and this kind of seems like the writing is on the wall for him. New offensive coordinator Brian Daboll, I think he's going to make a big push to make a big splash in free agency, whether it's Juwan Jennings or maybe if they can pry George Pickens off the open market. And they also have a top pick in the NFL draft, and it wouldn't shock me if they go to wide receiver. And at that point, you already have a first-round rookie wide receiver and a big-ticket free agent wide receiver. I think you can make those moves happen by cutting Calvin Ridley, saving yourself some money, and getting a guy that's more on the time frame of Cam Ward's development and really start from scratch here. I think these teams that didn't sign, like the people in power in Tennessee now, were not the ones signing Calvin Ridley. So you get the new head coach, new offensive coordinator, get them the guys that they want, and save some money in the meantime. At number 4, we've got Joe Mixon. Yes, one of the biggest mysteries of 2025. No one really knew why he was missing time. It seemed to be it's just a freak injury that never got better. However, going into 2026, I wouldn't have any confidence that he's going to recover. So $8 million in cap savings. You also just had your young rookie running back, Woody Marks, look very explosive on the ground. And you can definitely draft another day 2 or day 3 running back to pair him, be a 1A, 1B. Cheap running back room. And while you continue to contend for the playoffs and winning this division, I think you need more weapons on the outside for CJ Stroud, and really building up this offensive line should be the main kind of focus for this team. And by doing this, you don't really need as much talent on running back. And I think you can get by with Woody Marks and another rookie running back. So Joe Mixon will hit the open market and hopefully get healthy in 2026. At number 3, we've got Geno Smith, our first quarterback here of the list, but this one almost feels like a no-brainer. $8 million in cap savings. You're going to take Fernando Mendoza, and he's going to be your quarterback in the future, and there's no really reason to keep Geno Smith around. You already have Kenny Pickett, who's the serviceable backup, and I think this makes a lot of sense, both parties. Hopefully Geno can get maybe a short-term starting job if Patrick Mahomes isn't ready for week 1 or Daniel Jones isn't ready by week 1. So I like Geno Smith there. Number 2, we got Brandon Ayuk. This relationship has really gone to the wayside as they were voiding his contracts all year long. He just refused to report. He's obviously coming off the injury, so I don't know if he'll be fully 100%. However, it's worth a chance if you're a team like the Steelers or the Patriots that need wide receiver depth. And I think Ayuk could be very serviceable if he finds the right home. This one almost feels easy. It's an extra $6 million for a guy that simply won't play for your football team. So Ayuk is definitely out the door, which clears the way for number 1 here. Before we get to it, I would really love it if you guys hit the subscribe button. But at number 1, it's going to be our cover photo here. It's going to be Tyreek Hill. They've already made their plans a little bit out in their intention to cut him or release him. With Tua probably moving on from the Dolphins, they're in this rebuild, and you want to kind of favor the youth, get some development on the wide receivers and tight ends, and you already have Jalen Waddle, who has proven he can be the wide receiver 1. So moving on from Tyreek Hill, coming off a catastrophic injury, makes sense. You save over $23 million and can move on with a young wide receiver core. And Tyreek could maybe take a few months into the season off and find a contender that could use his speed. It allows him time to fully recover, and I think this makes the most sense for both parties involved. And that is going to do it for our top 10 offseason cut candidates going into the 2026 offseason. So drop a comment which one was your favorite, maybe a team that you think should actually hold on to this player. And without further ado, that's going to do it, and peace.